You saw the title and thumbnail, you already know what this video is about. Some Pokemon are just competing with Pokemon that are frankly just direct upgrades. Why use the Xbox when you can use the Xbox One? Why use a Nintendo Switch when you can use a Switch 2? Why play Pokemon Go when you can play Garfield Go? I'm not joking, that's a real game and I play it. That alongside Flying Gorilla. Anyways, let's just talk about these unfortunate Pokemon. If you enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, check out the Patreon, become a YouTube channel member, hype the video, do all that. And you definitely want to subscribe because at 300,000 subscribers, I'll be ranking every bench in Kalos City. Let's begin. Starting this off with a discussion of the lesser of two evils, we have Chansey, a Gen 1 Pokemon who is about as widely hated in singles gameplay as it is in VGC. Chansey is the Pokemon in the game with the second highest HP stat of 250, just behind its own evolution Blissey at 255. Blissey actually has a significantly higher special attack stat, but its defenses are only marginally better than Chansey's, making Chansey a prime candidate for an Eviolite user. The Eviolite is an item which gives Chansey a 50% increase to its defenses as long as it's holding it, since it's not fully evolved. While Chansey may only have a defense stat of freaking 5, that defense buff alongside its massive HP pool means that it becomes ridiculously difficult to KO. It was due to this bulk alongside a couple of other notable traits such as access to recovery in soft boiled and the move minimize that Chansey found itself the central Pokemon in stall teams in VGC. Chansey Stall specifically used guard split Pokemon with high defenses like Carbink or Shuckle to average out its defenses with Chansey. When you account for the Eviolite boost on top of that, Chansey becomes one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the game. To further ensure Chansey couldn't be KO'd, Chansey players figured it'd be a good idea to just not get hit in the first place. So they ran Minimize to get max evasion in just 3 turns, at which point Chansey could stall out opponents with toxic damage as well as Seismic Toss. These teams were ultimately very annoying, and running one at your local tournament was kinda like wearing a big "I don't shower and cough without covering my mouth" t-shirt. Everyone knew you were a dork. But in the long run, the biggest dork of all would be Chansey, as it ended up getting nerfed to the point that another Pokemon had to step in and take its role on its own type of team. As of Generation 9, Chansey no longer has access to the moves Minimize and Toxic. While it could still be guard split on and hold the Eviolite, the setup and execution would now take far too much effort to be worth running, and it's for this reason Chansey Stall would quickly be replaced with Muk Stall. Rather than guard splitting with Shuckle to boost Muk's defenses, Alolan Muk would actually be paired with Smeargle to attempt its setup. Smeargle would spam Follow Me and redirect attacks into itself, while Muk would get as many minimizes off as possible. Smeargle's role on this team was not only to direct attacks away from Muk, but to get itself knocked out as soon as possible. This was because Smeargle had the ability Moody, which randomly boosts a stat by 2 stages while decreasing another by 1 at the end of each turn. In the long run, if you let it just sit there, it massively buffs the user. Meanwhile, Alolan Muk's ability Power of Alchemy simply causes Muk to copy the ability of any Pokemon that faints next to it on the field, thus granting Muk Moody boosts at the end of each turn on top of every evasion boost that it manages to set up. With Leftovers Recovery, Protect, and Toxic damage, Muk was easily able to stall out any Pokemon by dodging their moves or tanking them due to the Moody boost. This team archetype fit a very similar niche in the metagame as Chansey Stall, being the team which prepared players could easily counter, but was still viable enough to farm underprepared opponents. So we're left as players to wonder, which one of these was actually worse to face? It was kinda like Alien vs Predator. I really don't want to cheer for either one of them. This channel is partnered with Gamersupps. If you want to support my work and get great tasting drinks, you can order Gamersupps through my link in the description down below or with code Moxie boosted at checkout for 10% off. Gamersupps is a caffeinated product that I recommend only to my 18+ viewers, but my link will send you to their caffeine-free product section just in case. Every product purchased through my link supports my channel financially, so I'd really appreciate the support. Now back to the video. Look out everybody, we got a mid-off. Yeah, neither of these Pokemon have super deep histories at the tippy top of VGC viability, but the sheer amount of direct upgrade vibes Vivillon gives off has to be mentioned. Butterfree may be a Gen 1 Pokemon that's bound to be power creeped, but it's still absurd just how blatantly Vivillon attempts to do this. Butterfree has 60 HP, 45 attack, 50 defense, 90 special attack, 80 special defense, and 70 speed. Meanwhile, Vivillon has 80 HP, 52 attack, 50 defense, 90 special attack, 50 special defense, and 89 speed. Those defenses don't matter much when you're a bug flying type, and all we gotta look at is the fact that Vivillon has a whole 19 points in speed over Butterfree. That singular stat difference is all it takes when you realize just how much in common these two Pokemon have beyond that. They're both bug flying types with the ability Compound Eyes, whose optimal moveset is something along the lines of Rage Powder, Hurricane, Sleep Powder, and Pollen Puff. But the fact that Vivillon just does everything Butterfree does but faster means that it really is just taking its job in every situation possible, and then some. Because while Butterfree is left with their Compound Eyes or Tinted Lens sets, Vivillon has access to the ability Friend Guard, an ability so powerful in doubles thanks to it cutting damage taken by allies by 3/4 that even Clefairy sees usage due to this ability. These traits held by Vivillon led to it being a niche but fairly common pick in Regulation H. Had Butterfree been available in that spot instead of Vivillon, players would have undoubtedly not used it as much thanks to the fact that Vivillon's high speed allowed it to outrun threats like Rillaboom, Gholdengo, and Archaeodon. Like, Butterfree, how are you gonna get outrun by a literal bridge? They don't even move.
Don't say it! Don't you say it! Left. Come on!
It feels especially mean to point out that Gigalith is worse than Tyranitar, because up until Gigalith got buffed, it wasn't even really competing with Tyranitar. This has to be what Bronny James feels like playing on the same team as his dad. In Gens 5 and 6, Gigalith was just an unnotable pure rock type with solid stats overall. Its bulk was great, and that 135 attack with 25 speed meant that it could be a demon in Trick Room. It saw very limited play up until VGC 2017, where it got buffed to get the ability Sandstream, an ability previously held by Tyranitar that automatically sets up sand when the user hits the field. Rock types especially benefit from sand because they're not only immune to sand damage, but gain a 50% boost to their special defense stat. This was obviously a massive buff for Gigalith, which led to it being a top tier option in VGC 2017, because Tyranitar just wasn't legal. Yep, in 2018, as soon as the National Dex format came about, Gigalith was left collecting unemployment, since Tyranitar and Mega Tyranitar suddenly became legal. Tyranitar may not be the fastest Pokemon, but not having to play in Trick Room to function is definitely a point in its favor over Gigalith. And to this day, people just kind of don't run Gigalith at all. The gap isn't closing anytime soon either, since Tyranitar has only received buffs since then in the forms of moves like Knock Off, Lash Out, and High Horsepower. It's even a solid Terra user in Generation 9. I don't know, maybe Mega Gigalith is just around the corner waiting to dominate Pokemon champions. Oh, no wait, he's just applying for part-time work at Hobby Lobby. Oh well. Here's a fun fact, this video was originally going to be named Unemployed Pokemon. Let's see if I have the guts to gamble on a title like that. I'd be lying if I told you that Skarmory has ever been a solid pick in VGC. The fact of the matter is that Skarmory is a Pokemon that's built for singles, and those traits just don't always translate super well to a doubles format. That being said, Corviknight stole his whole flow bar for bar and then got Pitbull to feature on the song. Dale. Skarmory is known for its incredible physical bulk off of its 65 HP and massive 140 defense stat. This, combined with access to recovery in the form of Roost and its great defensive Steel Flying type, makes it an especially difficult Pokemon to KO on the physical side of things. However, its passivity and low 80 attack stat makes it not quite cut out for VGC play, but in Generation 8 we effectively got VGC Skarmory. Corviknight is a Pokemon with comparable bulk thanks to its much higher 90 HP but lower 105 defense. But its superior 85 special defense stat and 87 attack stat allows for it to box out Skarmory from a pure numbers perspective. Where it goes from boxing out Skarmory to absolutely dunking on it is its ability Mirror Armor, an ability which not only prevents stat drops from opposing Pokemon, but reflects them back to the attacker. This means that Incineroar and Landorus will intimidate themselves every time they switch into battle if Corviknight is on the other side of the field, and any Icy Winds targeted into Corviknight will lower the attacker's speed. This is all on top of Corviknight maintaining access to Roost, but also having the ability to set up with the move Bulk Up, a move which will boost its attack and defense stat with each usage, not only allowing it to hit harder, but take even less damage. And since Corviknight basically always runs the move Body Press, a fighting type attack which makes the user attack with its defense stat, Bulk Up buffs this move as well. Corviknight has a number of deep tournament runs and even some regional championships under its belt, which is something that Skarmory just can't say about itself. That being said, Skarmory did just get a Mega from Legends EA, so that could be what finally lets it thrive in VGC. And I know I've used this joke before, but I'm going to use it again because it was that good. What do you do when Corviknight keeps stepping on your toes? That's right, you grow even bigger toes. Dude, imagine being a legendary Pokemon and getting outclassed by a starter. Couldn't be me. It is, however, my good friend Tapu Bulu. Tapu Bulu was always the worst of the Gen 7 Legendary Quartet, but it wasn't by much. No, we didn't have a Wo Chen situation where only freaks and weirdos insisted on running it. It was just the least splashable of the Tapus. Tapu Bulu still found lots of success on team archetypes like 2018 Komodo Gengar teams, where Scarf Bulu would be used to absolutely annihilate Tapu Fini, thus leaving the endgame easy for Komodo to clean up. Its ability Grassy Surge not only provided passive recovery to its whole team, but boosted the power of its grass moves, making it one of the most powerful physical attackers in the game with Wood Hammer. The thing about Tapu Bulu which really held it back was its huge poison weakness and the fact that it didn't have access to coverage or even a physical fairy type attack. It basically just only ever clicked Wood Hammer or Horn Leech. Come Generation 8, we'd have Rillaboom enter the picture. Rillaboom was the starter Pokemon with the most versatile kit of the three, being a fake out user with access to U-turn and even solid damage off of Wood Hammer. But where things went off the wall was the Isle of Armor DLC, where we got access to hidden ability Rillaboom, which just so happened to have Grassy Surge like Tapu Bulu. Along with that, it got access to the tutor move Grassy Glide, and at the time, 70 base power physical grass move, which would gain priority as long as Grassy Terrain was active. It's since then been nerfed to just 55 base power, but it certainly doesn't feel like it. Grassy Glide allows for Rillaboom to pick off the likes of Urshifu, Ursaluna, and any chip down opponent, and even Kyogre, I guess. The fact that Rillaboom had far more valuable tools in VGC like U-turn, Fake Out, and even Knockoff led to it being the best grassy terrain setter in the game, making it so that even though Tapu Bulu would return to the game in the Crown Tundra DLC, hardly anyone even dared to use it in VGC. Rillaboom only traded a slightly lower attack stat compared to Tapu Bulu for many more valuable tools. And that's the origin story of the first grass-type legendary to disappoint me. Behold, Parasect, the original Pokebum. I don't care how good it did at Worlds in the DS era, because that same era brought about its obsoleteness. Parasect is a bug grass-type Pokemon who has some kind of mid stats. 60 HP, 95 attack, 80 defense, 60 special attack, 80 special defense, and 30 speed. You don't need to be a genius to recognize that the only reason people would ever run this thing is because it has access to Spore, a 100% accurate grass move which puts the target to sleep. Parasect also has access to Rage Powder, meaning it's capable of redirecting attacks into itself to protect a partner Pokemon. Does any of this sound familiar? Well, it should, because 30 base speed, defensive grass type with Rage Powder and Spore perfectly describes Amoonguss. Only Amoonguss is a far better defensive typing and better bulk. Amoonguss is a grass poison type with 114 HP, 85 attack, 70 defense, 85 special attack, 80 special defense, and 30 speed. As a bug grass type, Parasect takes ×4 damage from flying and fire moves, ×2 damage from rock, poison, bug, and ice moves, and only resists fighting, water, electric, ground, and grass moves. Meanwhile, Amoonguss only has 4 weaknesses in flying, fire, psychic, and ice, and resists fighting, water, electric, fairy, and grass type attacks. It's just got a far more effective defensive profile. Really, the only thing that Parasect has over Amoonguss is a water immunity in the form of Dry Skin, which isn't super necessary when Amoonguss isn't taking much damage from water moves in the first place, and can even recover that damage off by just switching out due to its ability Regenerator. But arguably the funniest thing Amoonguss has over Parasect is access to the bug-type move Pollen Puff, a 90 base power special attack that can either damage the opponent or heal a partner Pokemon, a very valuable tool in its moveset. Amoonguss gets access to a bug move that Parasect doesn't. Parasect is a bug type. Actually, you know what? Make that 2 bug moves. Amoonguss randomly got access to First Impression and Legend ZA. Yeah, if you want to see just how large the gap in viability between these two Pokemon is, you just have to look at their tournament results. Amoonguss has enough to fill out a library on its own, and Parasect struggles to fill out a McDonald's receipt. Come on, man, at least shoot for CVS length receipts. Okay, so Arcanine kind of lost its job to 2 different Pokemon. Arcanine is the original VGC Intimidator. It's got solid stats across the board, a good defensive typing and pure fire, and access to great support options like Snarl and Will-O-Wisp, all on top of its busted ability. That higher than average speed stat and good attack stat even lets it threaten Okos on steel and grass type Pokemon with Flare Blitz. Just throw on safety goggles and this guy can suddenly play consistently into Amoonguss. Arcanine is just a solid Pokemon in every single format, where Hisuian Arcanine and Incineroar don't exist. Look, I don't need to explain what makes Incineroar good for the millionth time. Fake Out, Parting Shot, Knockoff, the Chaos Emeralds, the Infinity Stones of Bugatti. He's just got it all. Hisuian Arcanine is what I really want to talk about here. Hisuian Arcanine just takes 5 speed and 5 special attack from Arcanine's stat spreads and throws them into attack, alongside getting the rock typing and any moves that might come with that. Rock Fire with solid speed is a very desirable type. While not great defensively, Hisuian Arcanine's ability to roll compress and not only be a solid support Pokemon but quite the dangerous physical attacker with access to Head Smash and extreme speed means that Hisuian Arcanine is usually going to get used over regular Arcanine. Hisuian Arcanine has just thrown regular Arcanine into obscurity since it became available in VGC, with it being a direct counter to Arcanine itself. It simply just takes every good part of Arcanine and cranks it up to 10. I mean, I haven't seen anyone use regular Arcanine since this guy came out, so, you know. Hold on, let me just retread for the millionth time that Flygon didn't get a Mega Form 100% due to Artist Block. And apparently that Artist Block lasted a full decade because we got a whole lot of new Megas. Twice, and Flygon isn't in any one of those batches. Flygon is a Gen 3 Pokemon and the first Ground Dragon Pokemon ever introduced to the games. I think there's 2. Let me think. Yeah, there's 2. Groudon, no. Flygon and Garchomp. That's like it, right? Okay. While its stats are nothing to write home about, they were more than passable back in Generation 3, where it was actually a really solid pick, at least in singles. Access to Stab Earthquake off of 100 attack and 100 speed was a really desirable trait, but that didn't last too long. Literally the very next generation, the Pokemon Garchomp was introduced, which was just a direct upgrade to Flygon. While Garchomp didn't boast the ability to levitate, that wasn't the most desirable trait on a ground flying type. It's just kind of a fun fact that ground immunity just kind of exists for Flygon. It matters sometimes, but most of the time it doesn't. What Garchomp did have was superior stats across the board, including 102 speed and 130 attack. Not only was Garchomp faster, bulkier, and stronger, but it would go on to even get a Mega where Flygon would not. Not that that Mega was all that good though, people hardly used it, but more people definitely used it than Flygon. Garchomp has been a staple in multiple formats including VGC 2014, 2017, and Regulation H. It's just an evergreen Pokemon, and due to its longevity, it's kind of a foregone conclusion that Flygon will probably never see VGC viability again. Finally, we can talk about Mewtwo, possibly the greatest fall-off in the history of Pokemon. Mewtwo is the original legendary Pokemon, with it having incredible stats of 106 HP, 110 attack, 90 defense, 154 special attack, 90 special defense, and 130 speed. Its pure Psychic type is helped out by its deep coverage move pool with access to Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Shadow Ball, Dark Pulse, Focus Blast, basically any move you'd ever want. It even has access to not 1, but 2 Mega Forms, one of which being a broken special attacker, and the other one being a broken physical attacker that gains the fighting type. So why is it no diffed by a horse? Yes, Calyrex-Shadow is a Pokemon that 100% invalidates Mewtwo down to the very ability that Mewtwo has. He steals his whole flow bar for bar. Calyrex-Shadow is a Ghost Psychic type, meaning it gets all the benefits of the Psychic type alongside Ghost Stab, Fake Out immunity, and immunity to being trapped. It's got access to superior stats where they matter. 100 HP, 85 attack, 80 defense, 165 special attack, 100 special defense, and 150 speed. Being able to outspeed and outdamage Mewtwo is one thing, but it even has Mewtwo's ability Unnerve with a bonus ability on top of it. As one allows Calyrex the benefits of Unnerve, which prevents opponents from eating berries, along with Grim Neigh, which allows Calyrex to boost its special attack stat with every KO it takes. As if that wasn't enough, Calyrex-Shadow has a broken signature move in Astral Barrage, which is a 120 base power special ghost move that hits both opponents. It's stronger than 2 individual Shadow Balls even after the spread damage reduction. Calyrex-Shadow has been ubiquitous in restricted formats, meaning that there's no situation where Mewtwo can exist where it doesn't have to deal with Calyrex-Shadow. It doesn't matter that Calyrex-Shadow lacks all the coverage that Mewtwo has, you don't need coverage when your Stab Ghost moves can 2-shot Incineroar after that buff from Grim Neigh. Mewtwo is only number 1 in one place. No, not in our hearts, but the South LA Burger King crew. He can clear out a drive-thru like it's nothing. Anyways, those were just a few outclassed Pokemon that need some kind of buff or rework to ever be used over their peers. Did I miss any? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It means the world to me. If you want to support me further, you can check out my Patreon page or become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button below the video. This gets you sneak peeks at future videos, access to bonus content, and access to my supporter-only Discord server where you can hang out and team build with other community members. You also see your name at the end of all my videos like all these lovely people. Special thanks to my most boosted supporters, Avatar67 and Club, for their generous pledges. Another way to support me is to check out all the videos on playlist on screen right now. I know you'll find something in there that you'll enjoy. I also have a second channel where I talk about the current VGC metagame trends, and a Twitch channel where I stream stream, both of which will be in the description. Or you can just tune into my YouTube live streams Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. CST. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.